All right. Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and let's go. All right, guys. I hope that you had a good Thanksgiving. Hope that you spend it with your family. Um, I think that's the best part for me. I like being around those people that I care for and I love, and you know, it makes the atmosphere better. So I hope that all of you um, that are watching get to spend some time with those that make life a little bit easier. Um, the market is good. The market is moving. Real estate is reacting. It's not to its best capacity that everybody wants to be, but I think that the vibe that I'm getting is that it's um it's heading towards a good direction, and I think that 2025 should be a good year that you guys will get a good opportunity to purchase, even even sell. Okay, but now that we're gearing up to that phase, I think there's a lot of things that go unsaid on what things could be negotiated and things that cannot be negotiated. Um, and sometimes in negotiation, we get caught up with our feelings. And we're gonna be talking about negotiation and how we could get you get your house that you want and negotiate it without losing it, because that's really important. Um, I've seen deals that emotions get in the way, and just because you didn't have it your way, you don't want to satisfy the seller, um, we let go of our dream house, our house that was meant to be. If it's meant to be, guys, then sometimes it's okay taking losing, not even losing, not getting what you want. um it's just, if it makes sense, proceed. If it really doesn't, then there's always a solution for things. But let's go ahead and dive into what we're going to be talking about, which is negotiations. Where we at? Entire screen. Nope. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, let's swap this around. Let's swap this around so so you guys could see me. So instead of you guys, did it switch? Okay, there you go. Okay. Um, if you've seen this is just a contract. I wanted to use this as reference because sometimes I know that you, as a buyer or as a seller, because this is the same contract you're gonna be seeing, you don't know where are the areas that you can negotiate. But for reference, I will try to go back and forth to see where in the actual contract can you see this. So let's go to the first. Let's open this up so we don't get confused of what we're looking at. Negotiations. Okay, let's the whole purpose here is to understand, not to get hot-headed. Always listen to your realtor, because it's all about vibes. Sometimes um we get too hot, or sometimes your realtor could get emotional, and a realtor could actually mess up your negotiations, because he gets too angry. He doesn't know how to say things. The message comes across in a negative way. This all could happen. So you, as a seller or as a buyer, you need to be well aware that whatever message is being received and delivered is delivered as the best tone as possible, without hindering your transaction, unless you initially say, hey, this is the message I want you to deliver. Then at that point, I copy and paste, that's it. Or if it's on the phone, this is what I say: per seller, per buyer, this is what it is. Okay. So you need to be very careful about that. So let's move on, let's proceed, let's start. Price negotiation. Everybody, this how to determine if the property is priced fairly. Your realtor. Strategies to present a competitive but fair offer. So how do you determine the price? Your realtor can help you out whether the price is fairly, if it's price correct. Your realtor is supposed to be telling you if the property is listed too high or your offer is too low. Hands down. If they can't do that, then I don't know. Maybe, strategy to present your offer. How basically, have your realtor reach out to the other party. It's like, hey, and the whole point of that conversation is to get as much information out there. Hey, did you have any offers? I mean, don't start with that. Just start with like, hey, how you doing? Hope how's it going? I saw congrats on your listing. I was like, hey, I have a buyer that is interested in your property. Do you have any offers on the table? You have any activities on the table? And they say no, whatever the answer they give you, boom. Now you building report. Let's say, hey, anything in particular that your seller is looking for in regards to terms? They want to close early. They want to do anything that they tell you. You build report. You go back to your buyer, and you say, whatever they tell you, you tell them, how can we please them? Maybe they want a quick closing. Maybe they need something else. But along this points, this is some things that you can modify, and then you could present their offer on those terms that they want to make it more acceptable. It's not always the price that gets the offer. Remember that. Closing costs is always in on the table for negotiations, because the buyers want closing costs and the sellers do not want to give closing costs. Now, keep in mind, if you're a buyer, this is not a new construction. New construction will gladly, for the most part, will cover your closing costs. So if this is something that you must have, then I will suggest you look into a builder that provides full coverage of closing costs. But if that's not the case, closing costs is not mandatory. My buyers listen to me, because I know that a bunch of lenders have told you that it's mandatory. It's not. It is not mandatory. It's optional. It's negotiable. Remember, the seller is selling not because they want to cover your closing costs, right? They're only giving you some because they want this deal to happen. Okay. If true be told, is you've been responsible on not saving money to cover the cost of purchasing a home. So yes, I said it, and that's something that I feel very strong about. So let's say what it says here. It says, what are closing costs and how can a buyer ask the seller to cover part of all of them? Example, splitting closing costs can benefit both parties. And that is true, because the seller do want to sell. And guess what? If you're the only buyer that likes their house and wants to give in everything that they want, but is just asking for closing costs, there's no other choice. And they might, you could get the upper hand on that negotiation. So the whole strategy, again, it's knowing where the seller stands. Of course, this information is not just given to you. Having your buyer agent, talking to them, getting to know them, trying to see what works, and what's gonna make this deal happen. Okay, it's not all about the buyer, me, because at one point the other person that is the seller might get fed up and say, you know what, I don't want to sell it to you no more. And I have seen this happen. Believe me, I have seen this happen over really, really minor things that you will say, like, really, even I question my seller, like, really, but yes, just be careful. Next, inspection. Okay, so inspections and credits. Let's read discussion. Discuss the importance of the home and with the inspection. That's really important. How to negotiate repairs or request credit for issues during the inspection. Okay, so your offer got accepted. There you go. Congrats. And then you do inspection, which is not mandatory. It's not mandatory, but it's highly, highly, highly required. Not required. It's recommended. Okay. So a few things come out in your inspection report. If you still love the house after seeing the report, it didn't freak you out, didn't scare you away. So then, if I was you, if you were the buyer, I will pick the most expensive ones, or I will pick something that you are really concerned on, and then send it to them, right? And at that point, you could request, hey, we could either request for them to be repaired, or I will get the credit. They will give you some sort of credit, whether it's 2,000, 1,500, whatever the number is agreed upon. Then that money could be added towards your. It will be reduced to what you need to bring to the table, right? So, for example, let's say you agree to $200 on repair, right? And what you need to bring to the table, it's $8,000. So guess what? Now, instead of bringing $8,000, you're gonna bring $6,000. So it will be reduced. Okay, you're not gonna get a physical check of $2,000. You're not gonna. They're not gonna give you cash. Nothing like that. Okay, everything that is gonna be negotiated is got to be in writing, and it's also gonna be on title company needs to be fully aware of that. So that's how you work that. If they could choose not to give you no credit, maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's a doorknob that they need to be replaced, and the guy can say, "Oh, I could do this," the seller, and then they will easily just go replace it. So that's how you go about that. I do this all the time. You try to reduce the price. I know it's not mentioned here too. Instead of receiving the credit, you could just ask for it to be um, applied to the price. So let's say you're buying a house for $250, and you come to agreement on $2,000. Then instead of paying $250, you could pay $248. Of course, all of this needs to be agreed upon. So it's not because you want it. It's going to be applied. Seller and buyer needs to agree on this decision as well. Let's go. Point number 5. Point number 5 is home warranty. I'm not a big fan of home warranties. So I know that there's agents that love warranties. I have deals. Fall through because of home warranties. For me, I just don't feel they do a lot. When you call these home warranties, you need to pay for somebody to come out, and then they can say no, it's not covered. Yes, it's covered, and then it's I don't want to say it's a waste of time. It's just they don't fall on my things to negotiate. It just don't, you know. But if you are, and if your agent is, then you can negotiate that if you like. Appliances, and fixtures. Clarifying which appliance or fixtures are included in the sale. This is really important. How to negotiate an additional item to stay with the home. So this is more for the sellers. Okay, this thing is more for the sellers. Remember that most of the in the state of Texas, so you have the washer, your dishwasher, and your stove, and sometimes you have the microwave that is on the top. Those things normally stay in the house. Now, refrigerator is negotiable. You can negotiate that. And washer and dryer, refrigerator, that's okay. It's negotiable. So if you're a seller and then the buyer tells you that they want you, for some reason, your dryer and washer is there, they say, oh, can you just leave it there? So it's not that simple, right? You need to say yes, like I'll keep it there, or you could say no. If you want it, you're not going to charge them full price, even if they cost you $2,000. Unfortunately, unless, I mean, you could start at $2,000. You could let them know, hey, this cost me $2,000, and they only been here for a year. I'll give it to you for 1,500, and then you start negotiating 1,000, 1,200, 800, whatever, until you guys come to an agreement, and then that price could be added to the sale of the home, you know. And same thing applies to fixtures and stuff like that. It's very important, you as the seller, to tell your agent to let them know what things are not going to be staying in the home. So let's say you have a chandelier that you got from your mother, and that chandelier, and you don't know, maybe that chandelier is the reason that did the trick for them to purchase the home, your buyers. But you need to let your realtor know that that chandelier is not staying, because technically that chandelier is a fixture and it's connected to the property. So you need to you need to let them know when you signing that contract. It needs to say exclusions and exclusions. I'll show you real quick. Good thing I'll show you real quick where it says. Oh, right there, right there, right. I had it. Exclusions right here. Exclusions. Yeah. It says the following and accessories will be retained by the seller and must be removed prior to delivery of possession. So before you close, that needs to be removed. If I want to get technical here, but if you close on the property and you tell them, oh, I'm gonna come back tomorrow to remove that, guess what? The new owners can say, sorry, Charlie, it's no longer yours, because per the contract, as you see it, it's really simple. It must be removed prior to delivering of possession. So, guys, it's very important. If you're a seller, if you don't want things to, you want to think. I always tell my sellers, if you don't want it to be an issue, just take it out. Don't show it. Remove it now before we listed it. Take it away, whatever. But just be careful. Things could get pretty ugly pretty quick. Okay. So that's that. Let me see where we at here. Homes. We did prices. Okay, this is another thing that could be negotiated. Closing time. Like I mentioned before, maybe the seller wants to close early, or maybe the seller is not in a rush. So let's read. Adjusting the timeline to meet the buyer's or the seller needs. How flexible with the closing dates can be strong negotiation tool. This is very true. I had a client that needed to sell their home, but needed to stay a month after the sale. Not all buyers could not all buyers could grant this, because most buyers are leasing, coming to a new home. Maybe they're selling theirs, or maybe they traveling, whatever the case is. So now this is very important for your buyer to speak with the listing agent to see where they're at, and try to extract as much information you can from the listing agent, so you could accommodate your offer, and adjust it as so they could be pleased. um so what we're talking about here is like for them to stay a little bit longer. Do they need to closing on time or a little extra time? So it's very important. You could use this to your advantage. you know okay, contingencies is something similar to what we just spoke to. Type of contingencies: financing, appraisal, inspection, and how to use them to your leverage. Balancing contingencies to balance your protection without scarring off the seller. Basically, what this means is, like, this property, like I said before, like maybe the seller, the person that you buying the home, is buying another house, right? So there's a contingency. I've seen where I've been in a transaction where the buyer was buying another house but needed to sell their house first. So there's a contingency. So at this point, the seller has the upper hand. But if the seller also is buying another home, so you see that it becomes a domino effect. So that could work to your favor, making sure that everybody is closing at the same time, so there's no hiccups and there's no arguments and everybody's happy. So this could be very good compared to somebody that just needs to move in really quick, and it's gonna start rushing the seller to move because I need to get in, because they're probably close on their deal, and they are more in a rush. So you also need to take in consideration, or if there are any contingencies. Appraisal gap in coverage. This is really important, as this is probably why most deals could go bad. Okay, let's read. How to handle situations when the appraisal value is low than the purchase price. This happens. Tips to negotiate adjustments to the contract or bridge gap. So basically, what they're talking is, you on the contract, you probably in the last process with your lender is waiting for the appraisal. The house is selling for 250. Now appraisal comes back and says that the house is not worth 250. The house is worth 240. FYI, if the property is worth more than 250, then you won't be dealing with this. But if the house it's 240, then you have a $10,000 gap. And that is an issue, because now the bank won't lend you the additional 10K, because the house is not worth 250. The house is worth, according to the bank, according to the appraisal, is worth 240. So how do you approach this? So there's a few solutions how you do this. The easiest solution is for the seller to honor the 240, and unfortunately there's a loss of $10,000, but it's not your fault. It's not the buyer's fault, because the house is not worth that. Okay. Second, the buyer agrees to cover the difference. Simple as that. The buyer will have to come up with $10,000 and give it to the seller. I've seen this happen because they really wanted the house. Okay. And three, you will have you could just meet them. You can meet both seller and buyer can meet in the middle. So basically, the price gets reduced by 5,000, and the seller and the buyer comes to the table with an additional $5,000 to the closing. So that will be your solution. And I guess there's one more. And if there's no remedy, there's no agreement, the seller does not want to come down, and the buyer cannot go up because they don't have the funds or anything like that, then this deal will go bust. There's you can't proceed. You can't go and negotiate with the appraiser at that point unless there's something really really bad that the appraiser missed. So if that's the case, you might have a chance to fix this around. But if that's not the case, then it's really it's a done deal. HOA fees, there is a part in the contract that you could negotiate your fees. Who pays for them, whether it's the buyer or the seller. That's you could definitely do that. Okay. Or you can even split it. You can even split it on half. So they pay a portion, you pay another portion. I think that's about it, guys. The post moving possession or lease back. This is what. Oh, okay. This Okay. When a seller needs to stay in the home property, I think we spoke about this. Closing, negotiating terms of the lease back. That's also negotiated. Buyers can request in return discounted price or rental payment. This is absolutely correct. So in the event there's actually a seller leaseback and there's a buyer leaseback. So seller leaseback is that after you close, right? Most a seller might say, "Hey, can I have a few days or a week to move out?" So they don't be rushing. Sometimes these deals bust at the last day, and they are prepped. They have everything boxed just to find out that there will be no closing. So to prevent that, the seller could say, "Hey, can I stay for a few days?" And then after coming to agreement on terms and on prices and how long, then this is an easy way for the buyer to make a few extra cash um, after closing. And there's also the buyer lease back, lease in, I guess. I don't know. That where the buyer could actually move into the house earlier than closing. Now, this is very, very dangerous because you know uh, anything could happen during the time that you are there, and I normally don't recommend this one. I have done it in the past. The fear here is like you moving in and you're not liking the house at that point, and then it kind of breaks the whole deal goes downhill from there. But a few days or one day is not too bad, but more than that, it's scary. But yes, doing this, I guess at that point, the seller will be in the upper hand, charging you extra money to stay in the house. So yeah. So guys, these are some of the things that you could probably negotiate in the contract. Always be aware that everything on this contract is negotiable. Nothing is binding until both parties agree. All right. I hope that this was information were well informative. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Drop a comment. Please like and subscribe. Again, my whole purpose here is to educate you at my most so you don't lose deals that you probably could have gotten. All right. Until next time, God bless and see you.